Welcome to Baddie, a monthly podcast by For the Breast of Us, the first breast cancer community for all women of color, where we share real-life experiences, information, and education to help you live your best life after a breast cancer diagnosis.
Hey, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Eboney, aka Miss Hustle and Heels, better known as Baddie Hustle. And I want to welcome you all to another edition of Love and Cancer, brought to you by For the Breast of Us, a breast cancer community of beautiful women of color celebrating life, love, and support of all those who don't want to be in this crazy club. On this episode of Love and Cancer, we are talking about friendships and the support that they give during our journey. Today, we have another beautiful guest, and she goes by the name of Dionne, and I'm going to bring her and all her fabulous friends on. But let's first start with Dionne. Help me welcome Dionne.
Hi.
Hello, Dionne. How are
Hi,
you?
Ebony. I'm good. I'm great.
That is 100%. Great.
Yep. I'm great.
That is wonderful to know. All right, so we're going to jump right into it.
Okay.
So, as we said before, this is not a club that we want to be a part of, but here we are surviving and thriving. So, How did you first find out about your diagnosis?
I found out through my mammogram. I've always been very diligent with my breast checks, and because I lost 3 friends to breast cancer very young. They were very young. They were in their 20s. And so I've been very diligent, maybe paranoid. So during COVID, I somehow would always manage to get my mammograms in when the offices were open.
Mm-hmm.
So why I really wanted to be here today is because I didn't have a lump. And I think that's a misconception. And I think all women need to know it, but I think particularly women of color need to know that, you can check all day long, but there is another breast cancer called lobular carcinoma in situ. And it is a breast cancer that basically forms on the lobules, the tubes that go into the duct. So you can never feel it. You will never feel that. And oftentimes you find it when it's spread. So I went to my mammogram, and I was switched. I did my initial mammogram, and then I was switched to a, what do you call that one when they want to, whatever. It's another kind, a diagnosis. It's not called that. I don't remember what it's called.
Like the CT scan or?
No, it's just like they saw something, so now they're going to look at you some more.
Ultrasound.
No.
It's one of them tests.
Yeah, it's just another one. It's just another form of a mammogram to go deeper. So I had been there a long time waiting to go in, and then they told me, we need to schedule a biopsy. So after being there for several hours, I was like, oh my God. And they're like, don't panic. It could be calcium, because sometimes, like you have a decalcification that happens when you're starting to go through menopause, which is another conversation. And so I found out, I really was praying that it wasn't true, but I did my biopsy, and I found out maybe 4 days later that it was indeed breast cancer, and it was called lobular. There was no way to feel it because it was going across the tube. And the only way to find it is through a mammogram. It's the only way, not an ultrasound, no other way. Wow. So I encourage everybody to get mammograms, and don't think, if I don't feel anything, I'm not at risk, because now we know, and now I know you are at risk. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the first time I've ever heard about it. And I feel like I am a cancer expert at this point. And so I've never heard about that kind. So
Yeah,
wow.
I know it's not talked about, and it should be talked about. And I thought that was important to talk about today, for sure.
Very much so. So you find this out. What is your initial reaction?
Panic. My initial reaction is panic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like the hardest thing to do is like figuring out how to tell the people who love you.
Yes.
And so panic. How do I talk about it? Who do I tell first?
And not break down.
Well, I don't have any. I'm like emotional, so I don't really care about the breakdown. But I have teenage daughters at the time, so that was a lot to have to tell my teenage daughters.
Yeah.
But I called my husband first. He was in New York, getting ready to work and stay there for months, so he had to quit a job, come home. We rallied as a family and discussed that it was really important that we told our kids. My husband's a bit of a celebrity, and so we needed to tell the kids before like it perhaps became like a public something or the other. And that was a hard thing to do because you want to tell your kids when you have full information. You want to tell everybody when you have full information, because at that, in the beginning, I didn't know how far along things were. I didn't know if it had spread. I didn't know anything. I just knew I had this cancer. It was a holiday weekend, and I needed to. I had to tell my family. So.
Wow. So here you are. You told family, and now it's time to tell your good friends. And I'm gonna bring them on in, and we're gonna share that experience.
Okay.
All right, guys, help me welcome Lauren and Miss Cheryl. Hello, beautiful ladies. How are you?
Hello, Ebony. Hey, Dee.
Hi,
Dionne.
Hi, Karen. Hi, ladies.
I love you guys already. I'm like, yes. Look,
okay. These are my people. Listen, all of my friends are gorgeous. Like I feel like you just got to walk around with gorgeous people all the time.
Okay. I always tell my friends you guys are a representation of me. So when I know we all got to be beautiful. We all are beautiful. So, all right. So Dionne was sharing like how she found out, and she's told her husband, she's told her children, and so as her friends, like, how long have you guys? First of all, how long have you guys been friends?
Oh my God,
long time.
20-something years.
Yeah, at least that.
Yeah, at least that.
So
give or take
like,
a few years. Yeah,
this is that tight. I tell you everything, sister bond.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Now,
ride or die.
How do you find out? She tell you guys. What is your reaction when she tells you guys?
So I'll start. I was in a store. I think I was in CVS getting some prescription or something.
She was.
So Dionne calls me on my cell. She says, "Hey girl." I'm like, "Hey girl," just regular. And she said, "I have something I need to tell you." And she told me, and I could not breathe. And I'm trying not to but I couldn't breathe. It was like I could not understand. It was like, what? And I got really quiet because that's what I do. I don't scream. I do not scream.
Right.
I don't yell when someone tells me something. It's like I have to process what you just said. And I remember telling her where I was, and she said, "Oh, girl, I'm so sorry." I said, No, let me just find a seat. And I just had to process it. And I had to tell her then that everything was going to be okay, that whatever was happening, she wasn't alone, that I loved her. And that was it. I mean, she wasn't going to be alone. That was just the way it was. But it was just so, it was like, when somebody hits you in the stomach and you don't have air, they just take you out, Remember in the schoolyard, they used to do, it happened to me a couple times.
Yeah.
I probably talked too much if somebody socked me in my stomach. But yeah, that's what Dionne did to me in CVS, honey. Yeah,
I know, because it was like 8:00, and so I figured she was home.
I had run out.
Never imagined that she was like out in the pharmacy.
Yeah,
that's
and
all right.
And it takes a minute to get the courage to call. And so when I was like, I gotta call Lauren. I'm gonna wait until 8 because I know she'll be done with work. I know she'll be done with dinner.
Yeah.
And then I just started talking. And she was talking like she was on the couch. You were talking like you were on the couch.
I always talk to you like I'm on the couch. That's what I'm supposed to do, girl. I'm gonna talk to you like I'm on the couch.
Yeah.
That was it for me, Ebony.
And what about you, Cheryl?
Oh, you know what? Hearing Lauren's story, that's exactly the same way it hit me. It was a gut punch. It was a gut punch for sure. And I think right after I had a minute to catch my breath, I was in denial. I thought, no, because Dionne, one of the things I know about Dionne is she is always diligent with her health. Her doctor's appointments are always on time. Every single year, her annual appointment is almost to the day. She does that for herself. She does that with her kids. And so to hear her say that the results that came back was what they were, I was in disbelief. And I think I might have said, no. I think I might have actually been in denial.
She did. In the initial, when we were getting the biopsy, she said no. She said no, it's not going to be that. She did say that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I was in denial. I was in denial for a while and in shock. And I think we spoke for a little bit on the phone, and then we got off the phone, and I had to compose myself. And then I had to remind myself. I had to stop and remind myself because I felt like it was happening to me. I'm so attached to this friend of mine, and it's happening to me. And then I stopped and I said, I have to figure out how to support her, what she needs.
Yeah.
And that just took me a while. I think it was maybe a full week I was in denial. And we spoke every day, but it was a gut punch. And I think a big part of that too, once I went from, okay, we have to figure out how to support and go through this together. Then I thought she has to talk to her kids. I thought, and she has to be with her kids and spend time and support her kids right now. That's going to be a whole other element that she has to deal with. Yeah. So, yeah. It was
For me, that was a big thing. That was a big thing for me as a mom. Because, Dionne, like you, I had teenagers too. My son was a teenager. My daughter was a teenager. And actually, when I found out, my daughter was there. I was in an emergency room. And so having to tell her, but then I have two smaller ones also at home and trying to tell them. So, my focus then, it wasn't even on me. It's like children, And so here it is. Your friend has told you she has breast cancer. And it's like disbelief. What are some things that you all did? What are some things that you all did to support? What are some ways that you supported her during that time?
They were great. They're great. Okay. I let you guys say. Say how great. Say how great
Look
you
at her
were.
just chicken over.
Okay, sorry. Boss.
You know what? Cheryl said that she talked to Dionne every day. I did not.
Mhm.
I never talked to Dionne every day.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm one of those girls that I don't know. We've always had this, I don't know. We've always had this thing where she knows, I know there's something that I know about Dionne. I don't know what it is. All I know is that I needed to give her a minute because I wasn't right. I wasn't good. And I wasn't going to cry with her on the phone. So I went home and I did my boo-hoos.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I was not going to betray her trust. So I wasn't going to tell everybody.
Right.
Because my daughter is very close with Dionne and her girls. So I wasn't going to tell her without her permission.
Right.
So
That's
it was
big.
a lot to figure out, like, do I say anything? And has she given me, I didn't ask for that permission. So I'm not going to tell anybody else that we know in common. And I'm not going to tell my daughter, Taylor. So the only thing that I could do was, I think I texted more than I talked. Because if I talk, I'm going to cry. And that's not what she needed from me.
Right.
What she needed from me was to hold her up. So I did a lot of praying. Me and God had a really, really serious conversation on a regular basis. And because she could not be anywhere but with me in my life somewhere. So between that and just being where she needed me to be, I think that's all I could do is just hold the light, as much as I could. Cheryl and Dionne live a lot closer together. She left me years ago. She used to live down the street. I hold that against her on the regular. But I just said I'm gonna be in her house with her, whether she knows it or not.
That's right.
And she's forgetting that she brought me food. She's forgetting that we came for movie nights.
We did
and then after, like, I got through the breast cancer, I'm gonna let Cheryl go. But there were other things that occurred in my body that Lauren stayed the night and took care of me and just let me cry it out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say all that.
Okay. No. I'm gonna be quiet.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ebony. Sorry, Carol. I'm sorry, girl.
That's amazing. Yeah, Dionne.
You talk too much, huh, Cheryl?
Too much. Oh my. I think one of the most memorable things that I did with Dionne was walk. We just walked sometimes. We do live fairly close. And there were some times, I think there were a lot of days that we could talk about what she was going through, but some days we just walked. She just wanted to walk and not necessarily get into a heavy conversation. And some of those walks, we did talk a little bit about what she was going through or what the kids and her were going through or her husband and her were going through. But we just needed to get some fresh air and get out and walk and say nothing. We didn't talk sometimes, and I really just allowed her to guide what she was feeling on whatever given day she had. And it's funny because I think as a friend, and I'm sure because listening to Lauren too, in her perspective, I totally understand, because sometimes I didn't know what to say. Sometimes I didn't want to say the wrong thing because a lot of times I was feeling extremely emotional and didn't want her to have to worry about how I was feeling either. But I was worried about her emotional state and the whole family, what they had to go through. So I had to sometimes just leave that at home and just kind of let her give a lead on what she was feeling on any given day.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
like,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was
No,
going
go
to
ahead.
say, and wanted to go back to Taylor. So Taylor, Lauren allows me to call her my daughter, and and Cheryl's kids I have also claimed as being my own, and so I let Cheryl tell her kids, but I think I called Taylor to tell Taylor, right?
Yeah.
But that was hard too, because we were all really close. Like, this is my family,
Yeah.
Right.
These kids are my I was worried about my kids. I was worried about their kids. Cancer affects an entire community.
Yes.
Sure.
I didn't know all of what you guys were going through. I mean, you did a good job of keeping that together.
We strong, girl. We strong.
Very strong.
So that brings me to one of two questions that I have. So, like, as her support, that's, like you said, that's my ride or die. That's my girl. Her kids are my kids, and all of that. When you're going through breast cancer, like, the scope is on the person, right? The person that's going through it.
Absolutely.
But sometimes we don't expand that scope to look at those people that are around, the caretakers, the friends who are right there with the support team. So where did you all get your strength and your support from as you supported her?
Good question.
From the tequila. I'm sorry.
You know what, Ebony? Look, I'm saying too much. Okay.
All the secrets.
From the wines.
The wine, the tequila,
The wines, the weeds.
the daily margaritas, the daily shots.
Right? Absolutely.
Girl, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
tough
know.
one.
I can't answer
That's
your
a tough-
question. I don't think I typically, and this is something that I'm trying to learn, honestly, is leaning on others for the support I need. I don't do that
Right.
well. So
I understand.
right. So I just, like I said, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not very, I don't do the church thing every week. That's just my thing, not my thing. However, it was just really like, okay, God, today you just gotta, every day you just gotta hold her, because I can't be there physically, but you just have to do this for me, please, and then letting it go, knowing that it was all right. Yeah. And then talking with my daughter, who was going through it. Oh my God, she was in a shambles. Wow. She was in a shambles. And we had to just like, did you talk to her today? Okay. All right. What are we going to do? Who's got food today? Who's going this, that was the only thing I could do. Honestly, I don't have a better answer than that, Ebony.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I understand it. No, I think too, it was like, as Dionne said, we are all like family. Our kids love her.
Yeah.
That's their Auntie Dionne. And so, I think it was just being with each other, or at least staying connected with each other. I think for me, I try to remember that I needed to just give whatever support I could give to Dionne.
Yeah.
And that kind of took, I had my moments too. But I think those moments were by myself. I'd put my kids to bed at night in here. And when I had quiet moments, because I didn't want my kids to see that I was worried. And I think more so for her, I knew she was going to be on top of it with her health, and she was going to go to her appointments regularly and do what she needed to do. And I knew that the family was there. around her, supporting her.
Right.
And I think what I wanted to do is just make sure that when I needed to release or cry at home, I'm not a big crier. So I usually cry by myself, you know, and I didn't want my kids to be worried either. So I just kind of, you know, I took care of it late at night by myself. And then came back strong the next day when I would talk to her or whenever I needed to be there for her. But it was tough. It's tough. You know, there's a lot of denial. I think there was a lot of denial. I was like, she's going to be fine. I'm sure she's okay today. You know, I kept doing that a lot. And then every now and again, I had moments of reality check, like, you know, this is a process and we need to just support her until.
Yeah.
So like cancer in general, like, you know, because like this is the first time I've heard about lobular cancer, carcinoma, right? How much did you all know about breast cancer in you know, once this happened, before this, compared to now?
It's a tough one.
Are you asking me too?
Everybody.
I knew a lot about ductal, and I knew about triple X. I knew that because I had friends who passed from triple X, and that's and I also knew, you know, Black people say ridiculous things about so much. I mean, we need to not say this. That, you know, Black women don't really get breast cancer, which, you know, we have a lower rate of getting breast cancer, but we have a high rate of dying because we don't think, because we think we can't get breast cancer.
Right. Wow.
And so I did know that. I knew that, you know, Black women typically die. And because of a lot of the times it's not because of anything except you didn't go get checked in time. You know, it's a cancer that caught early. There can be cured, or it can be managed. Like I had a friend who managed breast cancer for 20 years before she passed away. But I did not know about lobular at all. I never had heard of that before. And I thought the irony of this situation is if all the people in the world to get this kind, I would be that one. I would be the one to be the one with this cancer that nobody's ever heard of. Because I'm like, typically in my family, I'm the youngest of 12, kind of a pain in the butt. Like, of course, the pain in the butt has to get this one we never heard of.
Right.
And I'm making light of it.
Did you have any family history of it? Of breast cancer?
No.
And see, that's another thing. That's another myth we need to kick in the butt. It's like, oh, well, you know, usually it comes from the maternal or the paternal side or something like that. Just like you, Dionne, I had no history on either side of my family. I was the first. And that's not the only story I've heard. A lot of people I know that were under 40 or at least under 45 found out they were the first ones in their families to even receive a breast cancer diagnosis. So
that's also that's another myth. That's another myth.
Another myth. And what about you guys? How much did you know about cancer and breast cancer in general before this?
You know, I think for me, I mean, from a young age, I was always taught and heard about going to get your mammogram, go and get yourself checked regularly. Women need to be on top of that. But I think with Dionne going through this, I started understanding the different kinds of cancer. And I mean, there's and even what she mentioned at the beginning of the program, she that there's this other kind of cancer, the one that we don't know about, that does not show up in by just feeling, because you know you're supposed to check yourself every month. That's the one that I heard of. The details of that there are other kinds, and that you have to be extra diligent and going to your appointment with a doctor and not just self-checking every month and thinking you're okay. Things like that, like things like the details. And also with Dionne, watching what she went through, like breast cancer is a diagnosis. It is but the emotion that goes along with that, or it was a huge learning experience for me. Added to the fact that going through that during a pandemic, when most women I knew who were going in regularly and checking themselves, going for their mammograms, a lot of people weren't. A lot of people stopped during the pandemic. In fact, most people I knew stopped during the pandemic. And so that was a wake-up call for me that not only you can do the self-check, but you actually should be going in for your appointment as safe as you can during the pandemic. There was so much. I learned so much from her, and I'm still learning. As Dionne is learning through research.
Wow.
Yeah.
My aunt had a mastectomy probably 20 years ago. And that was the first time I had ever known anyone that had breast cancer. My sister, I remember they found a cyst in her breast, and they had to go in and she had to have it removed to just check and see what was going on. And it was not cancerous, but that was also my awakening to, you've got to check. So I'm pretty diligent for that reason. And then I did lose a friend, not a best friend, but someone that I knew, and she was in her 30s from breast cancer. And that made me like really hyper vigilant around getting a mammogram. I hate mammograms because they obviously were not made by women, because they wouldn't be so uncomfortable.
They're not sexy.
They are not sexy, and they hurt like all get out for me. But I didn't know a lot. I didn't understand the different types. I still don't know all the different types, but I do know that watching Dionne go through this with the grace that she had has opened my eyes to a lot of it, a lot more.
Absolutely.
That is great to know. All right, so we're going to do I'm going to shoot some questions out. So you guys are hilarious, and I just love y'all. I love you guys' energy. I just really do. But who is the funny friend of you guys? Like, who is the one that always wants to crack jokes? Like, who is the funny friend?
That's going to be Dionne.
Really, I was going to say I want it to be me, but really it's Lauren, because Lauren's got a quick wit. And like,
don't listen to that, Ebony. That's not true. She's a liar.
Look, there she is, right there.
She's very mature today.
That's all it is, Ebony. That's all it is. Dionne has her moments. She has her moments.
Yeah. But I'm gonna give it to Lauren. But if it were my family were here, I would say it was me.
Okay.
I thought you just said we were family.
No, my other family. My other family.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
Here we go.
who's the quiet friend?
Ooh. Am I really that quiet?
Or the quiet?
That quiet. I don't.
Well, the quieter.
Cheryl, I guess. I think it's Cheryl.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the one be like, girls trip? Who's the one is let's girls trip, or whether it's let's spend a night, let's grab a bottle of wine, let's go. Right
Dionne.
D. I would say D. Go ahead.
She
started dancing and everything.
And then there's always the one.
Let's do it.
No, it's tequila. It's tequila.
It's tequila.
Tequila.
Oh my God,
Hey,
tequila is so
tequila
good.
will give everybody. Hey, you become a whole new person when tequila
Yeah.
comes in the room.
Yep. Yep.
And of course, out of every friend group, there's that one who is the mom. Who is the mom?
Dionne.
Mm.
I
But
think
Cheryl,
Dionne too.
I think you're pretty mommy. You're pretty.
Yeah. I think Cheryl
Girls,
and I
behave
are
yourself.
you know what? I think like that's what drew us together.
Mhm.
So I would say it's
That's
kind
true.
of all kind of
All
equal.
of us,
Like
yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
very like proud
Yeah.
of being mothers. Really,
Yeah.
I say we're exceptional mothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And our kids are great. And we're,
Yes.
you know, like we're solid. We're solid. So I say
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
equal.
We connect over
I would agree.
parenting. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. I love that. So, with your friend's journey, she's been on this journey and now she's out of it doing great. How do you all still support? Because as you know, once you're diagnosed, you know, there's still, you know, like they say you're never really over the initial diagnosis. Like you're still pretty much kind of in it.
Right.
And so, how do you all support her now?
Hold the space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if she wants to talk about it, then talk about it. Just be
Yeah.
comfortable enough to say what you need to say. You know, knowing that everything is safe.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
no judgment. There's no, you know, we laugh and talk and drink and do all that stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you can't be real, then why are you here? Right.
Yes.
So
Right. So
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just
That is
just
so
hold in the
good.
space, whatever you need, whatever you need. If whatever goes down, knowing that I'm getting in my car. I'm rolling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Awareness.
mean,
I think
just great.
also. Go ahead. Dee.
Go ahead, Uncle. I was going to talk about our breakfast on, was that Saturday?
Mm.
I went for a walk and I always can depend on Cheryl if I'm like hungry and I'm lazy. I went for a walk to the coffee shop and then I text her. I'm like, I'm near the coffee shop. Are you home? Can you make me an egg? And she was like, okay. So then I walked from the coffee shop to her house and she made me eggs and avocado toast. I was like, oh, God. That kind of thing. That just impromptu love and support. And we don't have to
Yes.
talk about anything. Like, I just,
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I love
good.
it. It's beautiful.
She feels that she can just, you know, when she feels like she needs something, she can just reach out. And I think one of the things is after the fact, after all the treatment and where we are today, I think to be aware as a friend that there are still up and down days. There's some days where she just needs to release and then and that's okay. That's okay. It, you know, it doesn't just disappear once you get a diagnosis or once you're told that, you know, you don't have to go to treatment anymore. It doesn't just disappear. You're still dealing with emotional stuff. And so she can let that out whatever way she wants to let it out on whatever day she feels she needs to. And we're here for her.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful to see because it's very rare. Social media doesn't show this. Social media doesn't show this kind of connection. Social media doesn't show this love, especially in our community. You know, they think, oh, Black women, all they're going to do is there's going to be bickering and fighting, and they can only be friends for so long. We don't get to see that this exists and that the love, like, it's not just posting under somebody's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, hey girl, I love you, but it's you are showing it in action. And we don't get to see this representation in our world, and it's what needs to be shown to not
For sure.
only women of all ages, but especially the younger generation that's coming up, because a lot of them are being steered the wrong way, and they're not valuing friendships like you all have, which is a very beautiful thing to see. And
Yes.
so I
Yes.
have, if you could describe your friendship in one word, what would it be?
That's
One word. One word.
One word.
Everlasting.
Ooh, that is
Mm.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Everlasting.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say solid. Solid.
That's great
Mm.
too. That's a
Break
good
this
one.
up. We're here. We're ride or die. So we're solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can I just steal those?
Of course.
I don't know if I can come up with one word.
No, you cannot.
I would say no. I know I'm not smart enough. I want to say bonded.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
real good.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, I got one last question before I let you guys out of here. All right. So love. So the title is Love and Cancer, right? And love, and we're talking about friendships. So finish this sentence for me. Love is.
Judgment free.
Ooh, that's real good. I love that one. Judgment free. Ooh. You want to give a little example for those who gonna be listening? Because honey, when this podcast come out, I'm sharing it with everybody.
You know, like it just going through this, it can be ugly and hard. And I'm known as a kind human and open and there for others. And being in a place where I could not be that way, I was actually worried about people like, because I didn't reach out to everybody. I was worried about people like not wanting to be my friend because they haven't heard from me. I was concerned that I couldn't be the friend that I had been to these, to Lauren and Cheryl. And, you have all these different thoughts and it's not you. But friendship is judgment free because we go through something. We all go through something. And we have to recognize that people go through things, and the people you love the most go through a lot. And when you're going through something, and I heard you when you say Black women don't do that. My friends, when we're going through something, we run towards each other. We don't run away from each other.
Yeah.
And that's amazing and wonderful. And the judgment free of all of it. Just be all that you are. Be the ugly, the good, the bad. That's just
That's so true.
Yeah. I
That's
love
good.
all of that. That was great.
We still have to answer that question, or did she do it all, Ebony? Because
Hey,
I thought she did it
if
all.
y'all wanna jump in on that, but
Ebony, Cheryl, look, well, we got to answer that.
I think she said it all. She spoke for us.
I mean,
I will say that my word actually just is the same. It ties into what Dionne was saying was unconditional. So with the good, the bad, and the ugly, we all have our moments like that when we're going through something, and you have to be able to depend on your friends to not judge you in that moment when you're going through the good, bad, and the ugly, And so unconditional.
The only thing I could add, I think love is everything.
Yeah.
It's safe, it's authentic, it's
Yes.
lack of judgment, it's just holding the safe space for people that you love to be who they are, not who you think they are, or they're trying to be for others, but you know who they are, like in your heart. That's what love is for me. For this one, right? Which one is that? This one on my screen. You the top quadrant.
Well, ladies, it has been a joy and a pleasure. I'm telling y'all, I needed this laugh.
Me too.
You all have made me
Me too.
chuckle. I cannot wait till my best friend gets off from work so I can call and talk to her. Like, girl, let me tell you. And talk to her. Yes, it has been a pleasure. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for just joining me today, being vulnerable.
Ooh, what happened to Ebony? Ladies,
Ladies, is it time for tequila yet?
No, we need to.
Tequila.
It'd be different if it was my best friend. Somebody don't want me to be great today. I want to thank you all for being judgment free, because I feel I'm in a judgment free zone because I skipped out and came back in because somebody wants to call me. But I want to thank you all for joining me so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for just showing what beautiful friendship looks like. Just showing it all. Thank you all so much. And yes, on behalf of For the Rest of Us, thank you, and a million times thank you.
Welcome. Thanks,
Thank you,
Dionne.
Ebony.
Thank you.
And for
Thanks,
you
Ebony.
all,
Love you, ladies.
Love you more.
and for you all that has joined us and listening to this, make sure that you share this podcast so that people not only know what real support looks like, but they can hear and see what true love and support looks like, and even get educated in the mix. So like I said, on behalf of For the Rest of Us, I am your host of Love and Cancer, Miss Ebony, aka Miss Hustle and Heels, better known as your hustling baddie. I just want to tell y'all thank you for joining, and until next time, bye bye, guys.